Good morning and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We have a functional movement flow, so we're going to just move the body in ways that we probably don't normally, just to explore movement, just to work our stabilizers, keep our core engaged, nice and strong. And to do that, we're going to start by coming up to the top of our mat, and I'm going to be facing the long side here. Now, we're going to warm up with a bit of a squat. And if you're not feeling like this is available to you right now, no worries. We're going to warm up the hips. So you can always come with your hands on your knees to a mid-range. And of course, you're going to draw your navel in and up. Keep your heart lifted, so no folding through, but heart is lifted here. So you're shining your Care Bear stare forward, or you're down here. And all we're going to do is we're going to start to turn one knee in just gently. Find a little movement in our hips. Just because we've only got 20 minutes, we got to warm ourselves up a little bit here. You can start to get a little bigger as it feels good. Starting to shift that weight or really turn the knees in. And of course, we're going to bring a yoga sense to this. So we're going to be mindful of how we move. We're going to explore it. I'm getting a little crazy and off the mat here, but take your knees out. And of course, the whole time we're going to listen to our body. We're going to make sure that what we're doing, we can breathe and that it feels good. So no strain, no pain. You might have to explore or take a pause, and that's okay. So here we go. We're going to come up into our Tadasana. So keep your feet going through this. Keep those 4 points pushing down, lifting up through the arches. It's going to give you a lot more strength and stability through the foot and the legs. And here we go. We're going to come on down into a nice little, almost like football squat. And then we're going to take our outside leg. So for me, it's the right leg. We're going to step it behind, and we're going to turn back towards the back end of our mat. We're going to keep turning through. Take the left hand here, plant it to the ground, and we're going to step that left foot all the way through. See if you can hold it up for a second, and then sit down. Take the other leg out. We're going to run through this a couple of times, so don't worry if you're like, Janice, seriously? We're going to bring ourselves up with our knees up towards the sky. We're going to do a couple 90 and 90s here. If you need to, take the hands behind you. See if you can challenge yourself today, though. Keep the heart lifted. 90 and 90. A little more hip mobility here. Beautiful. We're going to come back to center. We're going to cross the legs. See if you can do so, hands free. And then I'm going to scooch back on my mat just a little. Take my hands forward and come into just a hovering tabletop. My core's engaged. Press away from the mat. Reach the tailbone back, crown of the head forward, and we're going to turn to the right. Dip your hip down. So left hip comes to the mat, and then we come back to center, and then we take it to the other way. Right hip dips to the ground. And then as we come up here, I want you to step that right foot up, left foot back. Welcome to lizard. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to do the same thing again, except we're going to take that right foot, dip the right hip to the ground, dip the left hip to the ground, and then step it up to lizard. So now we can do it the opposite way. Just step that left hip down, step that right hip down, and step it up to lizard. So right hip, so the hip that's forward, left hip, lizard. Hopefully you're flowing here. Hopefully it's making sense. Last time, left hip, right hip, and then lizard. Beautiful. Hopefully you're in lizard pose or somewhere near it. We're going to step that left foot up or that back foot up, wherever you're at. We're going to come all the way up to our Tadasana. You might already be feeling the warmth, which is exciting. We're going to turn to the long side of our mat. And hopefully now you're at the opposite end, because we're going to do that whole sequence back to the other end. So outside leg is going to step behind, come down nice and low, bend the knees, navel drawing in and up, heart lifted. We step behind, turn, keep turning, take that back hand. So for me, it's the right hand to the mat or to the ground. Woo, we step through, and then we come down, and then we find our 90 and 90. I'm going to just move the computer mouse. So up nice and tall. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling warm already. So we do 90s and 90s for about 15, 20 seconds here. Don't worry if you're scooching forward. If you need a little bit less, take your hands behind you. Keep that heart lifted. But see if you can challenge yourself to sit up, roll through the hips. Do one more here. Then we come back to center, knees up. See if you can cross your legs without any assistance. You might scooch back here. Feeling super warm. We're going to take our hands to the mat, roll forward, come into your hovering tabletop. You can adjust where you are on your mat if you don't have enough space. And here we go. From our hover, we take one hip, so take the left hip down, turn to the right, and then we take it back to the other side. And then we take our right foot up, left foot back. Beautiful. Find your lizard for a moment. If you need to, step that front foot back and come into a child's pose. Always an option. But if you'd like to keep going, we take our right hip down, our left hip down, and then lizard on that left side. So you're going to keep it going. Navel's drawing in and up here. Pressing away from our mat. My heart is lifted between the shoulder blades. Getting nice and strong in how we move. Great for the obliques. Great for the legs, the arms. One more time here. There we go. Find your lizard pose. And then we'll step the back foot up. Find your Tadasana here. Rolling it all the way up. Roll the shoulders when you get to the top. Take a moment, stretch it out if you need to. And then we're going to go back the other way. Hopefully it's feeling more fluid. I'll still cue it. But if you have the movements in your mind and you know what you're doing, flow with it and keep that yoga mindset. So we're going to drop into a squat here. Feet are active. Heart is lifted. Care Bear, stare out. Take that outside leg. For me, it's the right. Step it behind. Rotate all the way through. Take that left hand or the opposite hand to the ground. Lift your hips and your core as you follow through with that left leg. And then we set down. Woo. 90 and 90. You're going to move so different after today. Just think about it, guys. See if you can find your strength. It doesn't matter if it looks like mine. It doesn't matter if it looks like your friends. See if you can find strength in how you're moving. Even if you're just doing a very small movement, feel strong about it. It's what you bring to it that counts. All right. I'm going to scooch back on the mat a little bit. Cross the legs. Maybe this time you cross opposite leg in front and we roll forward, or we boost ourselves forward, always an option. We're going to come into our hovering tabletop. And again, I'm going to turn to the right for the first one, dip my left hip, turn back, and find my lizard pose. And then I take my right hip down, left hip down, find my lizard on the left. So your next one is always taking the front foot and reaching it across first. That makes sense. If you're out in lizard and you're like, which leg goes where? Take the front leg and cross it over. So front hip goes down, back hip, and then lizard. We're gonna do one more here. You wanted a challenge this morning, I'm almost certain. Finding our lizard pose. Whew, you're gonna be feeling this in the quads, the hips. We step it up to our Tadasana here. Find our forward fold. Focus on tilting the pelvis forward. Pressing into all four corners of the feet. You can bend your knees if you'd like. And then we come all the way up. Whew. We're gonna stretch the legs out at the end of this. We've got one more pass and then a yoga bridge pose with a little functional movement. So after that, we stretch it out. All right, last pass here. Come into your squat, have a little fun here. You can shake, you can dance if it feels good. We're gonna take that outside leg, step it behind, spin through, keep your core pivot on your feet. Back hand comes to the mat or the ground. And then I'm gonna lift my hips, engage my core as I step my back leg through. Ooh, if your leg touches the ground, who cares? No worries, you're doing it. Come onto the ground. That one's so challenging for me, I love it. All right, we're gonna come into our 90s and 90s. So curious to know your thoughts on this flow. Let's keep it going. And remember, you're still moving with love, you're still moving with kindness and listening to your body. So if you can push it, push it. If your body is like, whoo, let's take a child's pose, let's take a rest, or let's just do a smaller movement, go for that. So now I'm even slowing my 90 and 90 down because I want to just linger for a second. Really opening the hips a little more than usual. Continuing to breathe and holding your breath. Here we go. We're going to scooch, come back to center. Scooch back on your mat. If you've been sliding forward, and we're going to cross the legs, go for the opposite direction. And then we're going to tilt the pelvis forward, reach the heart forward, hands come out, lift the hips as high as you can. And we come into our hovering tabletop. All right, this time I'm taking the right hip down first, then left, it doesn't really matter. And then lizard pose, left leg forward. And then we drop back to side, drop those hips, back to lizard. And keep it going. We've got a couple more passes. You can, of course, always take a child's pose. Or you can see what you've got left in the tank. But please, please, please do listen to yourself. Follow your energy. And focus on your form. So I would rather you take a rest than start to do this in a really sloppy way. So when I come into my lizard, I'm pressing into that front foot. I'm reaching that back leg back. Finding my breath. This is the last one, your last lizard here. And then rather than step it up, I'm going to step that back leg back, send it back for a child's pose. Whew. That was quite the flow for 13 minutes. You guys are amazing. Catch your breath here. All right. From here, we're going to come up onto our knees. We'll stretch the quads out first, actually. We're going to come into our proposal. So if you need to grab onto a wall or a counter, we're going to take the left leg forward, almost like we're proposing to somebody. You're just down on one knee. We're going to reach that right arm up. Press the back foot into the mat for stability. Squeeze the thighs towards each other. Tailbone comes forward, and we reach that right hand over to the left. You should feel that stretch in your quad on the right side. And then we'll inhale to come all the way up. We're gonna switch legs. So however you wanna do that, I'm gonna come to the ground and come back up. And again, now my right leg is forward, tailbone is reaching forward, pressing into my back foot for a little stability. The left arm comes up, and then we reach it over to the right side. Relax your shoulders here, my friends. Find that softness within you. Beautiful. We're going to exhale, release, and we're going to come onto our bottom and then onto our back. So roll it on back here. And you might want to watch me for just a moment. But if you feel like you can do it and not watch me and just follow my voice, let's do it. Your choice. We're going to come into bridge pose. So my heels are underneath my knees here. Legs are in line with the hips. And as I press up into my bridge pose, I'm lifting my chest here. This part's all normal so far compared to what we normally do, except we're going to add a little roll in here. So become aware of your spine. Just make sure it feels good. Make sure your thighs are squeezing towards the midline, not flailing out. We're going to take our left hand. We're going to reach it up towards the sky. And then we're going to reach it up and over towards the left corner of our mat. And then we're going to come back. And then if it feels good, you're going to do it with the right arm. So reach the right arm up to the sky, and then you're going to reach it up and over to the top left side corner of your mat. Did I do that right? Yes. So you're just crossing over, and then we're going to come right back down. So it's a little bit for the spine and the back, and the side body. When you're ready, we'll press into the feet again, lift our pelvis, lift our chest, lift the chin. Take that left arm up, and then we reach it up to the top right corner. So you're almost rolling onto that right shoulder. And then you're coming back. Hello, finding new spaces in your back. And then you do the same with the right arm. Up and over to the left side, rolling a bit onto that left shoulder. Coming back to center, lowering down. We've got time for one more. Explore it. Lift those hips, press into the feet. Left arm up and over. Take a nice big breath in. To roll onto the opposite shoulder here. Take it to the other side. And when you're done, come on back to center. Lower the hips with control. You're gonna just let yourself soften for a moment. You can walk the feet out a little bit. And then once you're ready, extend the legs all the way. Let them be nice and heavy and nice and soft. And then we'll head straight into Shavasana here. If there's anything else you need, if you need to stretch out a bit first, go for it. I like to point my toes and then just roll my toes in and out because it rotates my whole leg and it stretches the front of my leg. Once you've found what you need, we'll tuck our shoulder blades behind us. And we'll just find a few moments of stillness here for ourselves. Check in with you, and I will mind the time. In these last few seconds, soften any tension you have. Let yourself be nice and heavy. And maybe send yourself some love. Maybe a little I love you or a little I thank you to yourself, to your body, to your breath. And then once it feels good to you to start moving again, find a little movement. And we'll let that movement, of course, bring us back to center. And when we get there, we'll inhale. Sweep the arms up. We'll go nice and slow. No one left behind here. Bring your hands together overhead. Relax the shoulders. Bring the hands down. Bow to ourselves and each other. Namaste, gang. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're feeling it from the shoulders to the legs. If you have any questions or need any more modifications, let me know, because that's what we do. We make it so that you can move and feel good too. And otherwise, we'll see you on the mat next time. Bye for now.